children. And Vision, this whole little life you've made. This is chaos magic, Wanda. And that makes you the Scarlet Witch.
Hey everybody. WandaVision Episode 8 just released. It feels like the calm before the storm of the impending finale next week. I'm Teddy.
And I'm Hope.
We're here to break down all the revelations that this episode gave us. This episode begins with the origins of Agatha Harkness. We see her all the way back in Salem at the time of the witch trials. She kidnaps the entire witch coven, and then we jump forward to the scene with Wanda and Agnes in Agnes's basement. We learn that she has been drawn to Westview because of all the magic that Wanda has poured over it, and she wants to learn Wanda's secrets. The problem is that Wanda doesn't remember herself, so they take a little trip on memory lane, revisiting the key points in Wanda's life that has led to this moment.
The first stop on Agatha's magical memory tour is Wanda's childhood, and we see that Wanda already had her witchy powers.
Step through another door and we are in the Hydra research station, where Wanda is exposed to the Mind Stone and her powers are significantly augmented.
Our next scene is a stop at Avengers Campus, where we see Wanda bonding with Vision as she grieves Pietro's death.
This scene is so beautiful, but when we move forward, we are at another key point in Wanda's grief. Right after Endgame, Wanda goes to the Sword headquarters trying to recover Vision's body. She meets with the Sword director, Hayward, and we see these events without Hayward's spin on them. It seems that he is actually the one who planted the idea in Wanda's mind to bring Vision back to life.
Wanda does not bring Vision, quote-unquote, back online, but instead goes on a drive to the small town of Westview, New Jersey. Turns out that Westview was where Vision had bought them a plot of land to build a home together.
Wanda unleashes her chaos magic, creating the Westview Hex, and Agnes ominously states that this makes Wanda the Scarlet Witch.
Which we've already been calling her that, but I guess someone had to say it in the MCU, right?
Post-credits, we see that Hayward has finally booted up Vision's corpse, creating a new white superweapon with unknown powers.
My favorite scene from this episode was Wanda and Vision at Avengers Compound. It was a really sweet scene and something I really enjoyed because you do not get a lot of scenes of those two together in the MCU prior to this show, and you really get to see how their relationship developed. Frankly, how could Wanda not fall in love with Vision? He's just the best.
But what is grief, if not love, persevering?
The Vision, lifting Thor's hammer by day, giving counseling sessions by night.
I loved the scene that we got with Hayward at the Sword headquarters. I enjoy these scenes where we see roughly the same content but from different people's perspectives. And so seeing Hayward come out as more of the manipulator in this situation rather than more of the victim, he's come across as kind of bumbling to this point, honestly. And so here we see a new side of Hayward.
I just want to bury him. That's all I want.
Are you sure?
Excuse me?
Not everyone has the kind of power that could bring their soulmate back online.
Hayward is totally a Kree. Check out one of my short videos on the channel for my reasons why.
After that episode, I am really scared that we are gearing up for a very sad finale. It's just, we had so much sadness, and it seems that because the theme of the show has been dealing with grief, that there's going to be even more loss in the finale.
I'm actually going to take the other side here and say that we are going to pull through for a happy ending. I think these characters have endured so much through their past storyline and even this show that this is their time to have that sacrifice redeemed, their relationship come back together, and that is going to be the payoff at the end of the show.
I certainly hope you're right, but if we're taking that angle, it certainly seems like this final fight is actually really weighted on the Avengers side of the coin, because you've got Wanda versus Agatha, and Wanda's the Scarlet Witch, so she looks set up to win that battle. And then you've got Vision versus White Vision, who, admittedly, we don't know anything about White Vision really in the MCU yet, but I still feel like he's got pretty good odds there. And then you've also got Monica in her new superhero powers coming into the mix on the Avengers side of the coin. So it just doesn't seem to be set up for a realistic fight.
Now, we have seen Agnes be a witch killer in her past, and White Vision could have some incredible unforeseen powers. So there may be tension in some of those aspects of the battle. What I think will happen is that the Hex is going to start coming down, that Agatha is going to do some counter spell that's going to begin breaking it down, and that becomes a time bomb that will mean the end of Vision and the twins' lives if they are not able to resolve their battles in time. And I think, further call out, Vision, similar to when he was fighting Ultron in Age of Ultron, our Hex Vision is going to lock in combat with White Vision, and he is going to push his consciousness into his old body, and that's how he's going to be able to be alive outside of the Hex. Now for our merch minute, that is not going to be a minute and is still not sponsored.
I still have that catchy jingle in my head from episode 7, where we learned that all the hijinks going on in Westview were, quote-unquote, Agatha all along.
All the shenanigans.
So, 3 products to highlight for you all today. First off, we have these amazing socks. These socks are really fun. They're from rock'emsocks.com, and they actually have quite a few Marvel socks. So, even if Agatha ain't your favorite magical girl, there's plenty of options for you to go around.
So deep cut is that this picture makes it look like the socks are woven with hexes, which is perfect for the show, totally coincidental. But yeah, all this merch really pays off how much Agatha was in some of the promotional materials, and we just never saw how that was going to fully come out in the early episodes, and now we get it, and it's great.
Speaking of magical girls, there is a bunch of Agatha Harkness material coming to Amazon, and one of my favorites is this shirt, which obviously comes from Agnes confronting Wanda in her true form at the end of episode 7. And then finally, speaking of hexagons, we have a more simple shirt with that hex going on behind Agatha.
I love it. I can't wait for us to get more developed merch out of this and see something of Agatha snapping her fingers, and you see her full superhero witch costume that we get at the very end of the episode as well. There we go. This episode was much slower paced, somewhat lower energy than the trajectory the show had been following. A pause before our finale. This background information had to be made, it had to get out there, even if some of it was already predicted or was already known. If you want to see more of the background that we had on these characters from the other MCU movies, I've made a compilation of clips of them explaining their storyline. Wanda and Vision explained in less than 7 minutes. I've also been putting out a couple shorts on the channel showing other scenes and some theories about what is going on and what is to come, so check those out as well if you want to see some more thoughts on the show.
And in my defense, I've been making the pitch the entire time that Wanda is not the big bad villain of this series. And turns out that she was responsible for the Westview Hex. It was, quote unquote, all Wanda. But I do think that Monica has had the best description of what we know so far. It was not malicious, and it wasn't premeditated. So I hope that in the end, Wanda is not the villain of this show.
Yeah, and it seems like, especially from what we got in this episode, Hayward definitely had his fingers in there, pushing Wanda toward where she is now. I'm Teddy.
And I'm Hope.
This has been an episode of Disney+Us. Stay tuned on the channel for more shorts related to WandaVision, everything from clips, theories, to parodies. And come back next week when we break down the finale. We have a bunch of things planned and doing full show review, and also looking at, could we get another season of WandaVision? We'll have to see where things sit at the end of the next episode. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.